Hello everyone, Michael the Librarian of Magic here, finding and cataloging the magical and pointing you to it. I am back with another What's New on Disney Plus video, this time for Friday, March the 13th of 2020. I've got my notes here as always, and I'll jump right in. Be forewarned that when I get to the original content, as usual, there will be spoilers in this video, as there are in pretty much all of my videos. So, just to warn anybody who may be watching these for the first time. That's what will be happening. But before I get into the original content, new on Disney Plus, or added to Disney Plus this week, a big surprise. Disney, if you didn't already know, added as a treat for everybody Frozen 2, like 3 months ahead of their normal release schedule. Just, I guess, as a little treat to, you know, ward off the COVID-19 blues and also take advantage of the fact that everybody is at home and with not very much to do except for maybe watch Disney Plus and watch some Frozen 2. I watched the movie, and if you are interested in my thoughts, review or recap of that, I'll probably be making a little video about that at some point soon. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned to the channel. It'll probably be on here at some point soon. But other than that, this week in original content, there was a new episode of Shop Class, the reality competition show. This week's episode was called Ramps and Champs, and our three new teams were tasked with building a skateboard ramp, or skateboard, what do you call it? Feature, like obstacle, skate park obstacle. And they had to base it around some old defunct school equipment. There were a set of lockers that one team used. There was an old slide, and there was an old teacher's desk that had to be employed. And they drew straws before the show, and I think it was the blue team that got to choose first, and they chose the lockers. And then the green team chose the slide, and the yellow team was stuck with the gold team was stuck with the desk, but they were perfectly happy to have it. And then they had to build a skate park obstacle around that. And then at the end, during the judging, they had a guest of professional skater Jonas Ray, who came to skate on their obstacles and try them out and see if they were any good. And they were all pretty cool looking, very creative and inventive. Some of them one of them used the slide to go down and make like an elevated hill, and it was kind of like an extra little ramp. The locker one was really cool because it had sort of like two things that went in different directions, and you could jump over it in either pattern. And then the desk was cool because you could jump right over the desk, and they also installed like a railing on there so you could grind on it or jump over it. They were all creative and cool, and Jonas Ray enjoyed skating on them. And the judges gave their normal 2 cents about the aesthetics and the functionality of them and all that sort of stuff, and they ultimately decided that the green team, who had built the skate park obstacle with the slide, was the team to move on to the next round, and so they were successful. So it was a cool episode. Especially if you're into skating stuff, there was some neat stuff, some neat like paint schemes they chose to use, and stuff like that. And it was cool that they had to repurpose like old school equipment, like the lockers and stuff. So that was Shop Class this time around. On One Day at Disney, the shorts, there was a little short film about a person called Leah Bono, who is she's the executive casting director for the Disney Channel, and she basically casts a lot of like child actors for Disney Channel original shows and Disney Channel original movies, and other actors as well, but she works with kids a lot because it's the Disney Channel. And it was sort of just following her around for a day in the life, and what made her want to become a casting director, or how she got involved in that, and what she finds rewarding about it, and how she enjoys working with the young talent and stuff like that. And it was interesting to see how they put some of these shows together. They were like kind of showing a little behind the scenes of the casting and the initial read-throughs on one of the shows and stuff like that. So if you're kind of interested in some of that process stuff, especially how they make shows and things like that, that was an interesting little segment. On Disney Family Sundays, they made pom-poms based on the Muppets. They're like these pom-pom makers you could buy from a craft store. It's like a little clamp that you basically put together, and then you can wrap yarn around it and like tangle it around a nucleus, and then when you pull it apart, it makes just like a little kind of like koosh ball, fuzz ball out of yarn. You could probably also do the craft as well if you just had pre-made um, yarn balls or puff balls. And then they used like foam and stuff with these templates from online. You cut them out in the with the facial features, and they made Kermit and Miss Piggy. And they turned out really well. You could hang them from stuff or use them as ornaments or decorations or whatever. They were pretty cool. My favorite Muppet is Gonzo, and they didn't make Gonzo, but maybe if I got myself a blue poof ball and some kind of template for a long curvy nose and some big eyes, I could make myself a Gonzo maybe. But anyway, it was cool. I really love the Muppets, and it was thematic enough, unlike some of the other episodes, and it was interesting to see. I've never seen one of those pom pom maker thingies before, so it was kind of cool to see them use that. Anyway, that was Disney Family Sundays. The Marvel Hero Project this week was called Astonishing Austin, and the Austin is astonishing indeed. It tells the focus is on a young man from Indianapolis, Indiana, who lives in an area of Indianapolis that is kind of what you would call a food desert, which is that it's nowhere near very close to grocery stores or accessible for people to get healthy food, or in many respects food at all. It's also a very poor area, incidentally enough. And he has taken it upon himself to grow a community garden in his neighborhood where people can grab food for free and also contribute to the garden and help grow things and grow a sense of community and just have food to eat. He became very passionate about horticulture and botany and growing things and stuff like that, and started his own YouTube channel called The Young Urban Gardener, I think is what it's called. And just got encouragement through that. And then at one point, his garden was vandalized, and people tore up the plants and broke equipment and things like that. And it was kind of a setback for them. But he moved, his family moved because of his mom's financial situation, and they moved to a different spot in Indianapolis, and they ended up being across the street from a vacant lot. And he went and inquired if he could use that lot for a garden, and the guy that owned it told him, yeah, do whatever you want, I don't care. And so he had a much bigger space, and when he got a lot of community support and online support from his channel and stuff, and people showed up to really help make it into a great, more than a garden, really. It's kind of an acre plus of farm plot now. There was one guy who volunteered to bring a tractor and rototillers, and basically, even though Austin still considers himself a gardener at heart, he's basically a farmer. And there are plenty of farmers in the area that also consider him a farmer. They consider them one of those, and they've told him that they're going to have him out to their farms in the coming summer, or after this is done, so that he can learn how the big scale farming operations work and things like that. So it's really cool. But basically, yeah, he's made all of this food for his community and this whole sense of community spirit. So it's really neat. And Marvel, of course, donated to a food organization in his name, but they also helped him get a food stand and a tool shed for his garden plot, and inducted him into the Marvel Hero Project. So it's really cool, really great episode of this. I think we're getting close to wrapping up on Marvel Hero Project. I think there's only one left. I think they're going to end the season at 20, but it's been a really uplifting and inspiring show. Given the state of our world right now, this was a really timely thing for me personally to watch. It was just really nice and positive and uplifting, and gives me hope for the future when all this stuff is over, and when we can get back to helping each other and stuff like that. And as we continue to help each other through this as well, through the coronavirus COVID thing that the world is going through right now, it just shows like the Marvel Hero Project remind us of how good people can be when we want to be, and how inspiring we can be to each other when we want to be. So it was really nice to watch this week. Disney Fairytale Weddings, there was an episode called I think it's called Made for Loving You. There are two couples, Annalisa and Chadwick, and also Mel and Nathan. Annalisa and Chadwick were getting married at Disney's Corona Springs Resort down at Walt Disney World. And Mel and Chadwick were getting married on the Disney Wonder cruise ship up on an Alaskan cruise. And Mel and Nathan's story is that they were a couple back in high school, and after high school was done, or maybe towards the tail end, I think it was Nathan's family had to move away, and they lost touch with each other, and they got married and had kids and all kinds of stuff. And then later on in life, now that they're in their, I don't know, 40s or 50s or something like that, um, they got in contact with each other now that they're both divorced and stuff like that, and they got back together again, and they hit it off again, and then they're deciding to get married, and they've got like their kids together. It's kind of a little bit of a Brady Bunch situation and stuff, but it was really nice. It was really romantic to see them, reconnect. And their wedding on the Disney Wonder was really cool because the scenery in Alaska was beautiful, and the setup they had on deck for the wedding was cool. And one of the hosts, Twitch, actually officiated their wedding, which was kind of neat and random. But it was cool. That to me was the more interesting segment to watch. The other one was fine too. It was nice and romantic. They got married at Corona Springs down in Florida, and they're a cute couple, a younger couple. One of the more touching aspects is that the gal getting married, Annalisa, is very close to her older sister, who happens to be in the military and was being deployed to Iraq, so she couldn't be at the wedding, but they were able to Skype her in so that she could she could be on screen and watch the wedding and see everybody and stuff. So that was really sweet. And then at their reception, country star Tori Kelly was there to play their first dance song, and it was really nice and charming. But I thought that the cruise episode was kind of cool. It was actually kind of a really nice advertisement for the Alaskan cruises that Disney does. Which is kind of one of the purposes of the show anyway, is to show all the different services they offer and all their different parks and cruise lines and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's something that I would definitely have earmarked to do in the future, obviously when it is safe to do so and the world isn't so crazy. But yeah, the Alaskan cruise looked really cool. So that was Disney Fairytale Weddings. And then Diary of the Future President was an episode called State of the Union. State of the Union. And in this one, it kind of picks up from the last one where everything sort of went badly for Bobby and Elena and Gabby and everything. And in this one, Elena is going to be going to a conference in Tallahassee, which is like, they live in Miami, so it's like 7 hours away. Tallahassee's on the other end of Florida, across the long way from north to south, if you're unfamiliar with Florida geography. And anyway, it's supposed to be like an overnight trip with the school, and they're getting paired up to stay in rooms with roommates and everything. And this is something she's been planning on and excited with her friend Sasha for a long time, because they're going to check out how like the state government works, and they're nerds about that sort of thing. And they requested to be in a room together way back when, but then when they get reminded of their room requests, Sasha elects to stay with Jessica instead, and also that's primarily because Jessica, who was friends with those other girls, isn't anymore, and they were going to stay together, but now they're not, and so on. So that all gets changed, and then Elena ends up being on her own. She ends up having to be put in a room by herself, and she kind of freaks out because that wasn't what she was hoping would happen, and she also has been hoping that Sasha would apologize to her by now, even though Sasha has no reason to apologize, and Elena is completely in the wrong on this one. She's been waiting for Sasha to apologize, sort of foolishly. And she decides, I'm just going to intentionally miss the bus and not go to Tallahassee at all. So she calls her mom and tells her that. And mom says, you know what, I'm just going to drive you the 7 hours to Tallahassee. And she makes it seem like she's trying to teach Elena a lesson by making sure she follows through and stuff. But actually, Gabby is primarily doing that because she's trying to avoid being paired up working with Sam and the awkwardness that they're having in their relationship right now. She's just avoiding confronting it and dealing with it at all. So she leaves the office to take Elena the 7 hours to Tallahassee to avoid that. And then they find out together on the road that they're both trying to avoid problems and stuff like that, and they teach each other some lessons and both sort of gather up the courage to do something about their issues and stop ignoring them. And in the end of the episode, I don't think they really get yet to. I mean, Gabby kind of breaks the ice with Sam. She makes a phone call, but they don't like totally show everything that happens with that per se. But then Elena does get all the way to Tallahassee, and she makes a formal apology to Sasha, and it's really nice. And they make up, and they're really excited about the rest of the conference. So things are going well with that. On the front with Bobby, because everybody's going to Tallahassee, he ends up getting picked up from school by Gabby's assistant from work and going and hanging out at their place while Gabby is going to and from Tallahassee. Gabby's assistant at work, as it turns out, is a lesbian, and she and her girlfriend live together, and they're going through a bit of stuff in their relationship. Basically, they're building this bed, and Bobby starts asking questions about it, and they basically reveal to him that um, the assistants, I think her name is Danielle. I can't remember their names, unfortunately, off the top of my head. But anyway, she, the gal who's the assistant at work, she has not been ready to tell her parents that she's gay and that she's in a relationship and everything like that. That she is living together with her girlfriend. So basically, every time her parents come to visit, they build this bed so that they can pretend that they're roommates instead of being together, which is kind of a bummer. And Bobby's like, wow, that kind of stinks. And they're helping him process through stuff, basically. Like, the assistant gal admits that she saw Bobby have a moment with Liam at that tennis tournament before, and she's been kind of wondering if he's not dealing with questions about his own sexuality, and essentially she's right, but they think they can be kind of guide him through that a little bit because of their own experience and stuff. And I think he does kind of come to terms with a few things. He learns that it's a process and he has to work through it. By the end of the episode, he actually admits to his girlfriend, Monica with a Y, that they need to break up because he doesn't admit that he's thinking through things about his sexuality, but he does admit to her that he's going through stuff and that he's figuring himself out and that it's a process, and it's just not fair to her for her to be his girlfriend right now. So he goes through this whole thing. He kind of panicked in the beginning of the episode and told her that he loved her, and she was like, okay, great. And then in the end of the episode, he's like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that. And she's like, I know, it was weird. And then they kind of have a nice little moment together in the end as well. So Bobby's coming along. He's trying to figure himself out and ask more questions about himself, and that was all helpful. So basically that's how that went. It was one of those episodes where they're kind of furthering the storylines along. And it was nice. Like I have said in previous episodes of What's New on Disney Plus, I've been enjoying that series. It's just been pleasant to watch. And that's pretty much it for new original content on Disney Plus this week, as far as I can tell. And as far as I can tell of the things that have been added, that's what I officially know about. There were some things that, like more seasons of Wicked Tuna and stuff that were mentioned online. I can't seem to find those on the service, so I don't think they've added them, or they may add them at a different time. I'm not sure. So I will update you when I'm trying my best to update information when I know for a fact that it's been added to the service. So I'm doing my best to try to figure that stuff out. It's not always clear, but this is what I think is on there right now. They also added this week a new original film called Stargirl. I made a recap review video specifically just for that movie. That will there will be a link to that at the end of this video. And then also a new episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars was released this week, and I made a recap review episode of that, and there will be a link also to that at the end of this episode. So if you're interested in either of those two things, feel free to click those links. They'll be up and posted on the channel. And those were also things that were added to Disney Plus this week, and I watched those and gave reviews for them. So thanks as always for watching these. I hope that your week is going as well as it can. I hope this was a nice little break and some sort of informative, entertaining bright spot in the midst of it, and that you're staying safe and taking care of each other and all of that good stuff. Thanks as always for watching these, for giving me a thumbs up, clicking, subscribing, and all that stuff. And until next week, and until we find out what's new on Disney Plus next week, have fun trying to keep yourself busy and sane, maybe watching some Disney stuff, or hanging out with your loved ones. And until I make the next video, I'll see you then. Bye bye.